The clinical trial board glowed in the dim light of the research center, its screens humming with the final survival data for the RASolute 302 study. Dr. Elena Vance stood alone, her eyes fixed on the flickering numbers that represented years of silent labor. For decades, the RAS pathway was the ghost in the machine, a target labeled undruggable by the entire scientific community. Generations of researchers had tried and failed to bridge the gap. Now, the metastatic pancreatic cancer data was about to speak. Elena held her breath, knowing that these digits held the fate of thousands of patients waiting for a miracle that science had long deemed impossible. The numbers finally settled into place. In the control group, patients on traditional chemotherapy faced a median survival of just 7 months. It was the same grim reality oncologists had faced for a lifetime. But beside them, the cohort treated with a new oral inhibitor, Daraxonrasib, told a different story. Their median survival reached 13.2 months. A hazard ratio of 0.4 flashed on the screen. It was a statistical earthquake, meaning the risk of death had been cut by more than half. Elena leaned forward, her hands trembling slightly. This was no longer just a theory. It was a fundamental shift in the landscape of modern oncology, proving that the undruggable could finally be conquered. Vance walked through the quiet halls of the infusion clinic, where the air was heavy with the scent of antiseptic and fatigue. She found Mark, a patient who had become a familiar face in a sea of difficult cases. Mark had exhausted every conventional option, his energy depleted by months of harsh, cytotoxic therapy that had left him a shadow of his former self. He sat waiting for a second-line treatment he didn't believe in. Vance didn't bring a heavy IV bag this time. Instead, she handed him a small prescription for a once-daily pill. "This is different, Mark," she whispered. It was a targeted molecular strike, designed to lock onto active GTP-bound RAS proteins with surgical precision. 6 weeks later, the clinic felt different. When Mark returned for his follow-up scan, the atmosphere was thick, with a tension that usually preceded bad news. But as the images appeared on the monitor, the room went silent. There was a clear, undeniable reduction in tumor size. A 33% objective response rate stared back at them, a figure that had previously been unthinkable for a disease this aggressive.
Mark wasn't just a set of pixels on a screen. He reported a significant drop in pain and the return of his appetite. These were the markers of a quality of life that had been absent for so long. He looked at Elena, and for the first time, there was no fear in his eyes. "I feel like I've been given a second chance," he said. The era of the RAS inhibitor hadn't just arrived in a lab. It had arrived in the life of a man who was ready to fight for every extra sunrise.
Yet, even in victory, Vance remained a realist. She knew cancer was an adaptive adversary, always looking for a way around the blockade. She reviewed the emerging data on resistance, already planning the next phase of combination therapies to sustain these incredible gains. As the team prepared for trials in first-line settings, the goal remained clear: to turn a terminal diagnosis into a manageable condition. The data was published, and Vance finally felt the weight of a true breakthrough. A new benchmark had been set for every patient fighting for more time.
The battle wasn't over, but for the first time, the light was winning.